Chapter 7:16. Swoosh. A palm-sized cauldron instantly appeared in her hand. Then, she raised her hand and the cauldron instantly grew with the wind. In an instant, it turned into a huge cauldron that was more than 10 meters tall and covered in a diagram of the sun, moon, and stars. The cauldron emitted an ancient and boundless aura. It was obvious that it wasn't an ordinary item. Even with Luo Qingtong's eyesight, she couldn't see through its level for a moment. At this moment, Little Pig's voice suddenly rang out. "Square immortal cauldron!" he exclaimed in Luo Qingtong's mind. Then, he hurriedly said, "Quick, quick, quick! Hurry up and agree. I didn't expect that the square immortal cauldron that had disappeared for a long time would appear here. This is a good treasure. This heavenly doctor seems to have obtained a great opportunity. She has the heavenly water jade heart lotus and the square immortal cauldron. She definitely doesn't know how precious this cauldron is. Master, hurry up and agree. In the future, you won't have to worry about the cauldron exploding when you refine pills. Moreover, there are some things hidden inside that are beneficial to you and that man. Hurry, hurry, hurry." Little Pig's voice was indescribably anxious. It was as if the square immortal cauldron would grow legs and run away if he spoke slower. In fact, this cauldron was someone else's. Square immortal cauldron. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She looked at the huge cauldron and was about to ask for more details when she heard Feng Wan's voice. "This cauldron is a peerless treasured cauldron that I obtained by chance. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, aren't you an alchemist? I bet this cauldron with the heavenly water jade heart lotus. It should be enough for you to compete with me, right? After all, this cauldron is a priceless treasure to an alchemist." As Feng Wan spoke, he looked at Luo Qingtong with a mocking expression. Her heart was actually pained when she took out the square immortal cauldron. However, she was certain that Luo Qingtong was just looking for an excuse to ask her to take out a sufficient price. Thus, she endured the pain and took it out. As long as he could force the other party to compete with him, then defeat Luo Qingtong in front of everyone. This cauldron was still his. Feng Wan was full of confidence. "All right." Luo Qingtong looked at the cauldron and immediately stopped being pretentious. The treasure was right in front of her, yet the other party kept begging her to take it. If she didn't make a move now, she would be letting the other party down. Lord Evil Doctor. Upon hearing Luo Qingtong's agreement, the Blackfield powerhouse, who had originally heaved a sigh of relief because of Luo Qingtong's refusal, was shocked. "My Lord Evil Doctor. Why did you agree? This was gambling with a High Lord." If the High Lord found out, the Blackfield expert's face instantly turned bitter. "Lord Evil Doctor, you don't have to pay attention to this kind of person. If he had known earlier, he would have directly sent the other party vomiting blood with a single blow. Who would have thought that the other party would say something like that? She actually wanted the Lord Evil Doctor to compete with her. If she lost, she would have to leave the Blackfield and the High Lord. How could this be? If the High Lord knew, he would explode at any moment. The Blackfield expert hurriedly tried to stop her. Feng Wan listened to the other party's words and instantly clenched her teeth in anger. When she defeated the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, these people in the Blackfield would know who they should curry favor with. "Evil Dr. Ghost Eye, let's go out and compete." She looked at Luo Qingtong and said coldly. She wanted Luo Qingtong to lose her reputation in front of everyone in the Blackfield. This proved that the other party, the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, was simply inferior to her. "All right." Luo Qingtong looked at her and instantly understood her plan. Since the other party wanted to become famous so much, then she would help her. Chapter 7:17. In the Blackfield main city, in the central arena of the Bloody Arena. The bloody arena in the Blackfield main city could not be compared to the bloody arena in the Blackfield sub-city of the Eastern Fence Nation. There were countless experts in the Great Chu's sacred dynasty. There were many people who came to compete in the bloody arena in the Blackfield main city. As for the central arena, it was the most central arena in the Black region main city. The fighting ring here was not something that ordinary people could enter. Only the battles between Saint Realm experts would be held in this arena. At this moment, the people in the Blackfield main city saw that the huge defensive shield that covered the central arena in the center of the main city had opened. Rumble. As the light of the huge defensive shield opened, the people in the entire Blackfield main city were in an uproar. Did you see that? The defensive shield of the central arena has opened. Wow! Were there Sage Realm experts who were going to fight here? It must be. Otherwise, the defensive shield of the main city central arena would not open for no reason. I'm so excited to be able to see a battle between Saint Realm experts. Let's go. Let's go and see. In an instant, countless figures suddenly flew into the air and rushed to the central arena from all directions in the Blackfield main city. However, when they arrived there, the people realized that it was not the battle between Saint Realm experts that they had imagined. In the central arena, there were two people standing on the left and right. One of them was wearing a white robe and a blank jade white mask. When the snow-white robe fluttered, there was a faint feeling of floating immortality. The other person was dressed in red. His long robe fluttered in the wind, and he wore a ferocious and evil Rakshasa ghost mask. That terrifying face and that gorgeous robe formed a strong contrast. Just standing there, she was a synonym for absolute enchanting and evil charm. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The moment they saw Luo Qingtong, those who flew to the central arena instantly cried out in surprise. Most of them had only vaguely heard of Luo Qingtong's name. He knew that when she appeared, she was wearing a black cloak and a Rakshasa ghost mask. But today, when they saw Luo Qingtong dressed in a colorful robe, they still recognized this youth who didn't often appear in front of others, but who had almost set off a frenzy of pursuit across the entire continent. Even though he was wearing a red robe. Oh my God! It was said that anyone who saw the evil Dr. Ghost Eye would be able to recognize him at a glance. I didn't believe it before. A powerhouse from the east muttered to himself. Am I the only one who is sighing? Is evil Dr. Ghost Eye really that young? Young man. He was really just a teenager. To think that I never believed him and thought that he was an old man. These were the words of a powerhouse who had rushed over from the west. All around the stage, there were all kinds of discussions about the nefarious Dr. Ghost pupil. Almost everyone recognized Luo Qingtong's identity in an instant. Even if there were some who didn't recognize her occasionally, they recognized her true identity with the help of the people around them. Ah, that's not right. What is the Blackfield main city doing by opening the central arena? Who is the person opposite evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Chapter 7:18. With such a voice, everyone's eyes finally moved away from Luo Qingtong and fell on Feng Yuan. The latter had long been the focus of attention, yet she had been forgotten by everyone. She was so irritated that she clenched her teeth. Everyone was talking about evil Dr. Ghost Eye, but they didn't care about her at all. Were these people all blind? How could she not compare to evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Feng Yuan's eyes were ice cold. He looked at Luo Qingtong with increasingly resentful eyes. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Let's carry out this competition according to the orthodox competition between alchemists. How about it? This way, whoever loses will have no way to deny it. The orthodox competition between alchemists was a best-of-3 competition. Moreover, it had a fixed format. Feng Yuan proposed this competition because he didn't want Luo Qingtong to have an easy time. He wanted to humiliate her. At the same time, he wanted her to have no excuse. He wanted to humiliate Luo Qingtong in front of countless people in the Black Field. He wanted everyone to see just how big the gap between them was. Okay. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She could see through Feng Yuan's little thoughts at a glance. Since the other party wasn't willing to be released so quickly, and wanted to slowly accept the humiliation, she was naturally willing to fulfill her wish. Good. Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong with cold eyes. The first competition will be the two of us. We will each refine a bottle of medicinal liquid, and then we will have the other party tell us the composition of each other's medicinal liquid. Whoever tells us everything first will win. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded. Then let's begin. Feng Yuan sneered. She had great confidence in her alchemy skills. At the same time, she was born in the Great Yong dynasty. In the true Spill continent, besides a few rare treasures, what kind of medicinal herbs had she not seen? And evil Dr. Ghost I was only an alchemist from the Eastern Fence Nation's Black Field. It was rumored that she might be a direct descendant of some powerful family, or someone from that place. But Feng Yuan didn't think so. If Luo Qingtong was really from that place, how could she have such a weak cultivation? How could they rise from a low-level Black Field city like Dongli country? She felt that the other party was just a person who had inexplicably obtained a fortuitous encounter. The biggest weakness of such a person was his shallow knowledge and lack of foundation. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan smiled coldly, raised his hand and set up a barrier around himself, and began to refine medicine. Shwa. At the same time, Luo Qingtong also placed her own aura around her. She didn't need to use too much strength. In this central arena, the defensive barrier enveloping it would naturally prevent others from seeing through her aura and clearly seeing her refining process and medicinal ingredients. That heavenly doctor's background seems to be quite extraordinary. Within the true Spill continent, there was nothing that this person didn't recognize. What are you going to do? Little Pig looked at Luo Qingtong. You can't lose. That square immortal furnace. Enough. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pinched Little Pig's nose. Don't worry. When have you ever seen me do something that I'm not confident in? She definitely won't win. Even if it weren't for the square immortal furnace, she still wouldn't let her win. Otherwise, where would she put her face as evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Not to mention, this person wanted her to leave Yi Qianxian and replace him with her own identity. Thinking that this person might covet Yi Qianxian, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with killing intent. No one could touch the man she fancied. Chapter 719. They look like they're going to refine pills. Looking at Luo Qingtong and Feng Yuan's actions, the surrounding crowd then realized that the two of them were going to compete in refining pills. Instantly, the crowd around them boiled with excitement. I heard that evil Dr. Ghost Eye's medical skills are unparalleled and his refining skills are astonishing. Moreover, he's already an alchemist. I didn't expect that he would be competing in refining pills with someone else here. This time, we're really in for a treat. That's right. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's battle is even more exciting than a battle between sage state experts. No wonder the Black Field main city would open the central arena. That's right. I wonder who's the one competing in refining pills with her. He's actually so daring to challenge Lord Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Doesn't he know Lord's name? I know this. I heard that he's called Heavenly Doctor Divine Hand. He claims that his refining skills aren't any worse than Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Recently, he's been very active in the Holy Dynasty and is highly sought after by many forces. Tisk. So it's a name that he's bragging about. What's there to be proud of? There are many alchemists who have been bragged about by those forces. How many of them can do what Lord Evil Doctor is doing? That's right. He's overestimating himself to challenge Lord Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. One must know that Lord Evil Doctor's reputation has spread all the way from the lower countries to here. There's no need to doubt his strength. Who knows how much of the flattery from those large forces are exaggerating? That's right. A group of people discussed animatedly. These voices passed through the defensive barrier of the central arena and into Feng Yuan's ears. Instantly, she was so angry that she was about to explode. She knew that Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's reputation in the Black Field and the mainland was very big, but she didn't expect it to be to this extent. She had challenged the other party and these people actually said that she was overestimating herself. Were they that confident in Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's strength? Humph. After this competition, these people will know that their words are a slap in the face. Feng Yuan's expression was icy cold. In the next second, stalks of rare medicinal herbs appeared in front of her. Looking at these herbs, Feng Yuan's eyes flashed with a cold but proud light. Then, he began to refine the medicine. This time, she had come prepared. In these 3 matches, she must make Evil Dr. Gui Tong lose miserably. When she began to refine the medicine, Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. She had also begun to refine the medicine. It was just that the medicinal herbs she had chosen were truly indescribable. Little Pig stared dumbfoundedly at the medicinal ingredients in her hands. His pig face instantly distorted to the point that it was unbearable to look at. My master. My ancestor. You're using these drugs to compete with her. Is there something wrong with your brain? Did you become stupid from chatting with me just now? I told you to win, not to lose. Little Pig's round and chubby body looked like it was about to jump up. Was this woman crazy? She actually used these medicines to compete with that heavenly doctor. Wasn't it obvious that he wanted to give the other party a chance to win? Master, no, ancestor. Can you stop messing around? Although it's a best of 3 match, it doesn't matter if you lose one match. But what if the other party turns the tables around? Little Pig was about to explode when he saw Luo Qingtong's actions. Chapter 720. Rest assured my ass. Little Pig's face twitched as he looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in her hand. There was no other reason. The medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong used to refine was the lowest grade of medicinal herbs. Medicinal herbs that were so low grade that they could be found all over the streets of low-grade countries. They were as inconspicuous as weeds. Only the most ordinary and common medicine halls would purchase some of those medicinal herbs. Because the consumption of low-grade medicinal herbs was large, even if they were like weeds, it was sometimes too late to pluck them. Luo Qingtong actually used the medicinal liquid refined from these medicinal herbs to compete with the heavenly divine doctor. Wasn't this the same as delivering food to the heavenly divine doctor? That kind of medicinal liquid, even an ordinary person who had never cultivated before would be able to tell the medicinal ingredients in it, and could even refine 1 or 2. To be precise, it was similar to those medicines used to treat injuries. Little Pig almost fainted as he looked at the medicinal liquid. What the hell? It's so simple. Even a pig can say it out smoothly. What the hell is this woman doing? Just as it was thinking this, on the other side, Feng Yuan had already finished refining the medicinal liquid and removed the protection around its body. I'm done. She proudly looked in Luo Qingtong's direction. The latter also removed the protection around her. I'm done too. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. The 2 of them handed over their respective medicinal liquids to the people of the Black Field. They also wrote down the names of the medicinal herbs needed to refine the medicinal liquid and handed them over to the people of the Black Field. Among them, there were many alchemists from the Black Field's main city. The Black Field's main city wasn't like the other Black Field sub-cities. Other than the alchemists cultivated by the Black Field, there were many alchemists from other forces. When these people heard that evil physician Ghost I was going to compete with the heavenly divine doctor, they immediately rushed over. First, they were there to act as referees. Second, they wanted to observe the battle between the two. After all, Luo Qingtong and Feng Wuan's alchemy skills were above theirs. Ordinary heavenly alchemists couldn't be compared to them. Especially evil physician Ghost Eye, who was already an alchemist at such a young age. It was even more admirable. However, when those pharmacists received the medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong handed over and the medicinal liquid formula that she wrote down, everyone's expressions instantly became incomparably strange. Their faces twitched as they looked at Luo Qingtong and then at the formula. They didn't know how to express their feelings. This Lord Evil Dr. Ghost I was truly too unconventional in playing his cards. Looking at their expressions, Feng Wuan's face darkened. Could it be that the medicinal liquid refined by the evil Dr. Gui Tong was extremely precious? Rare in the world. Was that why they had such expressions? That's right, the Black Field has plenty of resources. The amount of medicinal herbs that evil Dr. Gui Tong could obtain was not inferior to hers. However, the only thing she had that was better than Luo Qingtong was that she had seen all kinds of rare medicinal herbs since she was young. In this aspect, evil physician Gui Tong was definitely inferior to her. Even if there were Blackfield's resources to make up for it in the later stages. Her knowledge of medicinal herbs might not be as much as his. As Feng Wuan thought so, he immediately set his mind at ease. The two people's medicinal liquids were exchanged. Luo Qingtong's medicinal liquid was delivered in front of Feng Wuan. Feng Wuan's medicinal liquid was delivered in front of Luo Qingtong. The two of you each say the medicinal ingredients in the medicinal liquid. Whoever finishes first wins. As the Blackfield's people spoke, they took out the names of the medicinal herbs that Luo Qingtong and Feng Wuan, the two of them, refined and covered it with a red cloth. Chapter 721. Feng Wuan was brimming with confidence. She looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid that had been delivered to her. She opened it and prepared to sniff out the medicinal liquid's composition. She did not believe that the medicinal liquid refined by Luo Qingtong would be able to stop her. In this world, there were no rare medicinal ingredients that she did not know. However, when she opened the bottle, she was completely dumbfounded. What is this? Feng Yuan looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid that was presented in front of him in shock. Was this a medicinal liquid? The spirit qi contained in it was extremely thin. Not only that, but the medicinal energy contained within was weak and heterogeneous. Feng Yuan had lived for so long, but she had never seen such a heterogeneous and weak medicinal energy. This was a bottle of medicinal liquid. How could there be such a trashy medicinal liquid? Feng Yuan's eyes were filled with disbelief. She had grown up in a wealthy family. She had seen from a young age that even a strand of grass contained more spiritual energy than this medicinal liquid. At this moment, looking at this bottle of medicinal liquid in front of her, she was completely at a loss. The first princess of the Great Yong dynasty had never seen the cheap medicinal ingredients of the lowest-ranked countries. Not to mention this kind of low-grade medicinal liquid that ordinary people could use for no reason. She had never even touched it before. In an instant, Feng Wuan's brain crashed. She looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in front of her, her mind completely blank. On the other side, Luo Qingtong had already begun to leisurely speak of the medicinal ingredients in the bottle of medicinal liquid refined by Feng Wuan. Her speaking speed was extremely slow, stopping as she thought. It was as if she was waiting for Feng Wuan to catch up. However, no matter how much Feng Wuan racked her brains, she did not have the slightest impression of those cheap and low-grade medicinal ingredients. Her complexion was extremely unsightly. If it were not for that blank jade-white mask covering her face, it was likely that everyone around the central stage would be able to see her unsightly and ashen complexion. Wow! It can't be. What's the matter with this divine heavenly doctor? She can't even recognize such a simple medicinal liquid. I know all about it. That's right. What heavenly doctor divine hands. Blowing his own trumpet was shameless. You can't even recognize such a simple medicinal liquid. I think I should be the heavenly holy doctor. Ha! That's right. Even with our eyes closed, we can tell the ingredients of this medicinal liquid. What a joke. Heavenly medical sage hand. Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong is obviously giving her a handicap, but she still can't win. I can't. I'm dying of laughter. This heavenly doctor wasn't here to compete, right? Is she here to be funny? There was a burst of laughter from below. Everyone looked at Feng Wan on the stage as if they were watching a joke. He's even a heavenly doctor. Not being able to identify the medicinal ingredients of such a simple medicinal liquid, it was really laughable. Just where did this heavenly doctor divine hand come from? Feng Wan's expression was unspeakably ugly. Under the unsightly appearance, there was also an unbearable embarrassment. She boasted that her medical skills and medicine refining skills were not inferior to Luo Qingtong. In the end, she was crushed by the other party in such a manner in the first round. If she said that her speed was slower than Luo Qingtong, losing this round would still be alright. At least it would prove that her strength was not inferior to Luo Qingtong. It was just that her luck was slightly worse. She was one step behind. But now, she could not even name a single medicinal ingredient. But Luo Qingtong was neither hurried nor slow as she named one medicinal ingredient after another. This kind of crushing made Feng Wan feel extremely humiliated in her heart. Chapter 722. Ha! She can't say it out loud. Seeing this scene, Little Pig almost laughed himself to death. He thought Luo Qingtong was going to lose for sure. He thought Luo Qingtong was going to give the heavenly divine doctor a chance to win, and then crush him in the next 2 rounds. Little did he expect that the heavenly divine doctor couldn't say the ingredients of the low-grade medicinal liquid Luo Qingtong refined. Little Pig rolled around in Luo Qingtong's sleeve as he watched the heavenly divine doctor's sullen expression and the mocking laughter around him. Was there anything more face-slapping than this? Oh my God! Luo Qingtong's skill is simply amazing. Did you do it on purpose? How did you know she couldn't recognize it? Little Pig couldn't stop laughing. At the same time, he was full of admiration for Luo Qingtong. This face-slapping method was simply too ruthless. Other people would only slap the face, but Luo Qingtong's face-slapping was like a wheel rolling around. She used the cheapest and lowest grade medicinal liquid to slap the face. Everyone knew about it, but that heavenly divine doctor didn't know about it. She slapped the heavenly divine doctor's face until it was swollen. The heavenly divine doctor claimed that Luo Qingtong's alchemy skills were inferior to hers. The more arrogant the heavenly divine doctor was, the more ruthless the face-slapping was. Simply amazing. Luo Qingtong was going to ascend to heaven. Luo Qingtong smiled but didn't say anything. That heavenly divine doctor was obviously from a prestigious family. She was extremely arrogant and condescending, and even spoke in an arrogant and bossy manner. How could she know about the low-grade medicinal liquid that even ordinary people could refine? Not to mention the ingredients used to refine the medicinal liquid. Most likely, when she first started to practice refining medicinal liquids, she started with precious medicinal herbs that ordinary people couldn't obtain, right? She directly skipped the refining steps of ordinary apprentice alchemists. This was the heavenly divine doctor's strong point, but it was also the heavenly divine doctor's weak point. I told you, she can't win. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. As she spoke, a blood-red light flashed in her eyes. Not only did she want the other party to be unable to win, she wanted to completely crush him. He wanted the other party to remember this humiliation the moment he heard his name. The heavenly doctor's ability to refine medicine was stronger than the evil doctor's ghost eye. That was impossible. It was just a joke. Evil, doctor, ghost, eye. When Luo Qingtong said the name of another medicinal herb, Feng Yuan, who was almost driven mad by the ridicule of the surrounding people, finally exploded. She gritted her teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. Don't be so smug. So what if you use such an opportunistic method to win this round? I'll crush you in the next 2 rounds. As she spoke, she turned around and faced the Blackfields people and the pharmacists on the stage. I admit defeat for this round. Let's move on to the next round. When Feng Yuan said this, his voice was trembling. She was too angry. She didn't expect this evil Dr. Ghost Eye to be so cunning. He actually used this kind of trashy medicinal liquid that only low-level martial artists and ordinary people could use for her to identify. Feng Yuan was the #1 princess of the Great Yong dynasty. She was also the #1 genius and a natural pharmacist. When had she ever touched this kind of trashy medicinal liquid? It was fine if she couldn't identify it, but she was also ridiculed by others who questioned her strength as a heavenly doctor. When had Feng Yuan suffered such ridicule and humiliation? Moreover, she had previously said that her refining ability was stronger than Luo Qingtong. At this moment, all of these words were thrown back at her with a slap in the face. Feng Yuan was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She directly admitted defeat for this round, so as to avoid suffering such ridicule and humiliation. In the next round, she wanted these people to know her true strength. If there is no treatment, his entire body will rot and turn into a pool of blood and die. The medicinal liquid in my hand can treat the injuries in his body. Watch carefully. As she spoke, she directly handed the medicinal liquid in her hand to that person and coldly said, "Drink it with the vinegar." The man trembled as he took the bottle of liquid medicine from her and drank it together with the vinegar that was served by the Blackfield people. Shwa! As soon as the medicinal liquid entered his mouth, his pale face began to slowly turn rosy. As soon as that person opened his mouth, he immediately felt that his voice had become full of energy. The pain in his internal organs also disappeared. He tried to shoot out a burst of energy. That burst of energy exploded on the stage. The attack power is very formidable, it didn't weaken the slightest bit. My injuries are healed. That martial artist doesn't dare to believe his eyes. His injuries were extremely serious, it was almost impossible to save him. That palm was practically going to shatter his internal organs. His opponent's medicinal liquid was able to cure him. That martial artist became extremely excited. Chapter 724. Before he could kneel down to thank Feng Yuan, a mysterious and proud smile suddenly appeared on the latter's face. It's not over yet. Along with Feng Yuan's voice sounding out, an unexpected change suddenly occurred. Ah! That martial artist who was kneeling on the ground and was about to thank Feng Yuan suddenly exploded into a bloody mist one after another. Countless black auras spread out from the wounds all over his body like vines, spreading all over his body. Those strands of black auras were very thick and solid. At first glance, it looked like countless black earthworms crawling on his body. Feng Yuan narrowed her eyes and sneered. Looking at Luo Qingtong, she raised her head proudly. Ultimate medicine to ultimate poison. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, can you do it? Feng Yuan's heart was full of pride. Her ultimate medicine to ultimate poison was a combination of medicine and poison. The dual attribute reversal was her trump card. She dared to say that in this world, other than those old freaks who had studied alchemy to the peak, no one else would be able to do what she did. She was a natural alchemist and had the talent to become an alchemist. What was evil Dr. Gui Tong? If the ultimate medicine and ultimate poison in Luo Qingtong's eyes was really neutralized by evil Dr. Gui Tong, then the other party would definitely be inferior to her. Because that ultimate medicine and ultimate poison was only one of her methods. It couldn't be compared to the ultimate medicine to ultimate poison that she was using now. Extreme medicine and extreme poison. It was just that the arrangement of the medicine could be refined into medicine or poison. The final effect of the medicinal liquid was still a kind of medicine poison. But the medicinal liquid that she was refining now was both medicine and poison. Depending on the different ways of taking it, she could make it poison or medicine if she wanted it to be medicine. What could evil Dr. Gui Tong use to compare with her? Medicinal pills. Those medicinal pills that were sold in the Blackfield city of Eastern Fence country might not be refined by the other party herself. What's more, ordinary medicinal pills couldn't neutralize her ultimate medicine to ultimate poison. Even if evil Dr. Gui Tong was really an alchemist, how high could her alchemy level be? The true inheritance of an alchemist was not in this true spill continent. What evil Dr. Gui Tong knew was only the tip of the iceberg. Feng Yuan was very proud. She proudly looked at Luo Qingtong, her eyes sweeping over everyone present, and said, "Now you know what true strength is." Evil Dr. Gui Tong. Ha! Feng Yuan coldly smiled, clearly showing her contempt for Luo Qingtong. There was complete silence all around. If it was just now, her sneer would have caused everyone to attack her and laugh at her for overestimating her own capabilities. However, at this moment, everyone was dumbfounded as they stared at the cultivator who was rolling and screaming on the arena. The poison that erupted from the other party's body was so obvious. It wasn't there just a moment ago. Moreover, his injuries. This competition was supported by the people of the Dark Domain. It was absolutely impossible for the other party to tamper with it. That was to say, the other party had really turned her medicinal liquid into poison after curing that martial artist's injuries. Heavens! This alchemy skill was simply heaven-defying. The other party's reputation as a heavenly doctor was not undeserved. Her alchemy skills were actually so fierce. Just as everyone was stunned by Feng Yuan's move, Yi Zichen suddenly spoke. Chapter 725. She walked straight to the martial artist who was wailing and rolling on the stage. She raised her hand and handed over the bottle of medicinal liquid in her hand. "Drink it." Seeing Luo Qingtong's actions, Feng Yuan sneered. Her heart was filled with disdain. "Evil Dr. Gui Tong, the medicinal liquid that you refined is the most trashy medicinal liquid. Don't talk about curing my poison, it's not even certain if it will be effective on him. You don't have any other ideas, so you came here to play to the gallery." Feng Yuan's heart was filled with disdain. She didn't believe that Luo Qingtong could use that bottle of medicinal liquid to cure her poison. Only she knew about the fusion and transformation of the medicinal properties. Luo Qingtong definitely couldn't see through it in a short period of time. Not to mention using a bottle of trash-like medicinal liquid to detoxify his own poison. Even if Luo Qingtong added the best things into that medicinal liquid, it wouldn't be as effective. After all, the other party's medicinal liquid's grade had already determined that its improvement was limited. Luo Qingtong was bound to lose this round. However, just as her voice fell, that martial artist who had been tortured to the point where his life was worse than death had already grabbed the bottle of medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong had handed over and drank it in one gulp. He had no other ideas now. He could only use Luo Qingtong as his last life-saving straw. Evil Dr. Gui Tong's medical skills are unparalleled. She will definitely be able to save me. As he thought so, he drank the entire bottle of medicinal liquid in Luo Qingtong's hands without hesitation. Humph! Feng Yuan sneered. The other party was just struggling on his deathbed. The medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong refined was of such a low grade. To him, it was just like drinking plain water. When this person died from the poison, he would know how laughable his thoughts were. Hoping that evil Dr. Gui Tong would use her low-grade medicinal liquid to save him. More like a dream. However, as Feng Yuan was thinking this, the martialist's body suddenly stopped moving. Humph, dead. Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong with a happy expression, and sneered, "Evil Dr. Gui Tong, you've lost." Seeing the martial artist's body suddenly stop twitching and rolling on the stage, Feng Yuan raised his head high. "Really? Look again." Luo Qingtong looked at her indifferently. "Humph. No matter how much you look." Feng Yuan's voice suddenly stopped. Her face was filled with shock as she looked at the warrior who suddenly stood up from the ring. The woman's face was flushed red, and her body, which looked like black earthworms crawling all over her body, was no longer there. The wounds all over his body had also completely healed. He was actually fine. "Look! The poison is gone. Oh my God! Evil Dr. Ghost Eye is indeed the most powerful. This is the ultimate medicine that has been turned into the ultimate poison. She can actually cure it. She's really too powerful." The crowd below the stage had already gone completely crazy when they saw this scene. They were shocked by Feng Yuan's methods before, and now they were shocked when they saw Luo Qingtong cure the poison. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye was indeed different from the rest. She could even cure this kind of heaven-defying method. In this world, other than those reclusive and rare peerless doctors, who else could be her opponent? The crowd cheered loudly. When Feng Yuan saw this scene, he couldn't believe it. "Impossible. There's no way that bottle of trash medicine of yours can cure my poison." Chapter 726. It's true that I didn't cure your poison. As she spoke, she lifted her eyes to look at Feng Yuan, and the smile on her lips was unbridled. "I did reverse your poison." As Luo Qingtong's voice fell, the surrounding voices instantly fell silent. What did Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong say? The crowd below the stage was indescribably shocked. "It seems like she said that she reversed the heavenly doctor's poison," a warrior murmured. "Ha! Are you kidding? Did you hear wrongly? The heavenly doctor's hand can turn ultimate medicine into ultimate poison. It's already good enough that Lord Evil Doctor can cure the poison. How is it possible?" Before the other warrior could finish his words, his voice was stuck in his throat. He looked at the scene in the arena with a shocked expression. Boom! All of a sudden, an extremely powerful medicinal strength erupted from the poisoned martial artist's body. Under the effect of this medicinal power, the warrior's aura instantly soared. Boom! 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 As the aura in his body broke through layer by layer. In the next second, with a pop, the aura around his body seemed to have broken out of a cocoon and suddenly soared. Martial Ancestor Realm. That pinnacle martial emperor powerhouse had shockingly risen to the martial ancestor realm under such circumstances. Everyone could clearly see that what that warrior drank was indeed the low-grade medicinal liquid refined by Luo Qingtong, which only had a trace of weak spiritual energy. Therefore, that majestic medicinal power was definitely not the effect of that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid. Therefore, ultimate poison turned ultimate medicine. The poison that the heavenly doctor's hand put in that warrior's body was completely reversed. It turned into a majestic and vast medicinal power, which directly allowed that warrior to benefit from a disaster. His aura soared, and he broke through to the martial ancestor realm. Oh my God! Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong actually did it. Ultimate medicine turned to poison, then turned to medicine. Oh my God, this is definitely a pinnacle battle between alchemists. And Lord Evil Dr. Gui Tong's move is simply amazing. It's not just amazing, it's simply unprecedented and will never be replicated. Any expert who was slightly knowledgeable about the situation let out a series of exclamations at this moment. Not for other reasons, but Luo Qingtong's skill was clearly superior to his when it came to the transformation of ultimate medicine and ultimate poison. Feng Yuan's transformation was because she was the one who refined the medicine. Naturally, she knew the details and also knew what method to use to reverse it. Don't think that she lifted something heavy in the arena like it was light. Who knew how many times she had practiced it in private? But Luo Qingtong, on the basis of Feng Yuan ultimate medicine to reverse poison from ultimate medicine. What she used was a completely unknown opponent's medicine. In addition, the bottle in her hand was a low-grade medicinal liquid. She completed this kind of reversal, oh my god. Everyone stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They simply did not know how to react. Feng Yuan was also dumbfounded. Ultimate poison to ultimate medicine evil Feng Luo Feng T's use a low-grade A1s. How did she do it? Feng Yuan looked at Luo Qingtong, her eyes filled with disbelief. But this time, she couldn't even utter the word impossible. If Luo Qingtong used that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid to neutralize her poison, she could still suspect that the other party used other methods. But ultimate poison to ultimate medicine was something that couldn't be resolved even if she used other methods. This was a genuine contest of alchemy skills. And Luo Qingtong completely crushed her. She used extremely precious medicinal herbs and refined medicinal liquid of heaven grade and above. The poison after the reversal was shocking. But Luo Qingtong only used a bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid to reverse her poison. Chapter 727. Second round, Evil Dr. Gui Tong wins. A voice announcing Luo Qingtong's victory resounded from the stage. Evil Dr. Gui Tong Darren, how did you manage to use a bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid to reverse the poison? The crowd of pharmacists looked at Luo Qingtong with burning eyes. Luo Qingtong's move was really too powerful. It wasn't something an ordinary person could do. They couldn't even imagine it. They had no idea how Luo Qingtong did it. Luo Qingtong looked at them with a smile that wasn't a smile. It's very simple. As long as you can purify that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid a second time, it'll be fine. That's to refine medicine on top of the medicinal liquid. Luo Qingtong's bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid looked like it was still the same bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid. In fact, when she handed it to that martial artist, she had already used her eye technique to remove all the impurities inside. With Luo Qingtong's ability, that bottle of low-grade medicinal liquid was only left with a poison that could be compatible with the poison in that martial artist's body. Under such circumstances, when the other party drank that bottle of medicinal liquid, it naturally reacted with the poison in his body, directly reversing and synthesizing a new medicinal liquid. As long as they could see through the poison in the other party's body and remove the medicinal properties in the medicinal liquid, they could also achieve this. However, that wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Remove the medicinal properties. Refine medicine on top of the medicinal liquid. My God! Everyone was already gasping in amazement when they heard this. Not to mention the eyesight needed to see through the poison and medicinal properties in the other party's body. Refining medicine on top of the medicinal liquid required a terrifying amount of control over the medicinal properties and the stability of the medicinal liquid. Everyone thought about it and realized that if it was them, they would definitely not be able to do it. They immediately admired Luo Qingtong even more. Feng Yuan also clenched her teeth for a while. She had previously said that Luo Qingtong relied on opportunistic tricks to win the previous round. This time, Luo Qingtong ruthlessly slapped her face back. If this kind of medicinal skill could be said to be opportunistic, then the difficulty of being opportunistic was too great. Moreover, she had originally thought that Luo Qingtong had only refined a bottle of trash medicine in the previous round, so she would definitely lose this round. However, he was ruthlessly and accurately slapped by the other party. How could her medical skills be so amazing? Damn it, if she had known, she would have used that trump card. Feng Yuan gritted his teeth and looked at Luo Qingtong. The girl also raised her eyebrows and looked at her. Luo Qingtong was dressed in men's clothing. Standing there, she looked extremely enchanting and charming. She slowly walked in front of Feng Yuan and slightly raised her face covered by the Rakshasa ghost mask. The corners of her lips curled up as she looked at the white-robed man opposite her and said, "Best of three wins. Heavenly Divine Doctor, I still have to thank you for going easy on me. It would be impolite for a rotten piece of wood like me to refuse. I will kindly accept your cauldron and heavenly water jade heart lotus." As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, Feng Yuan's face instantly flushed red and her blood rushed to her head. Previously, she ran to the city lord's mansion and said in front of Luo Qingtong that she and the other party were rotten wood and good wood. She also said that Luo Qingtong, this rotten piece of wood, was not worthy to stand beside Ming Zun and that she, this good wood, was the most suitable. This time, she was slapped in the face by Luo Qingtong. Not to mention that she lost 2 rounds in a row, she was still crushed. Feng Yuan's heart was filled with hatred and her entire body trembled. What was called humiliation? This was called humiliation. In front of everyone's eyes, in front of everyone's eyes. Chapter 728. Not only that, she had also lost 2 treasures. The heavenly water jade heart lotus and the square immortal cauldron. She had personally delivered these 2 items to Luo Qingtong. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan felt a fishy sweetness in her throat, and she was about to vomit blood. She fiercely pinched her palms, looked at Luo Qingtong, and said, "Evil physician Ghost Eye, I want to compete with you again." Previously, she had underestimated her opponent. This time, she would definitely not. That trump card of hers could definitely defeat Luo Qingtong. "I'm not free." Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows, turned around, and prepared to leave. She had already gotten the items, and she had more or less crushed her opponent. She had no time to play house with her opponent. Those 2 items, the heavenly water jade heart lotus and the square immortal cauldron, she had to go back and study them properly. How could she have the time to dawdle with her opponent? If not for the fact that this heavenly doctor had paid a sufficient price previously, Luo Qingtong would not have bothered with her. Evil physician Ghost Eye. Seeing Luo Qingtong turn around and prepare to leave, Feng Yuan gritted her teeth so hard that they were about to break. Since when had she been ignored like this? She would definitely return all the humiliation that the other party had given her in a while. Thinking of this, Feng Yuan's eyes suddenly flashed with a stern look. Within it, a faint purplish-green color flashed past. "You and I will compete again. This time, we won't compete in anything else. Let's compete in identifying herbs with a mask, and see who can identify more herbs. How about it?" As she spoke, she looked at Luo Qingtong with a cold smile. "Aren't your medicinal skills unparalleled? Then your ability to identify herbs is definitely above mine. If you win this round, from now on, I will avoid you like the plague when I see you. In the future, I will never step into the black field again, and I will never appear in front of Ming Zun again." When Feng Yuan said this, she was also ruthless. This time, she would definitely be able to defeat Luo Qingtong. She did not believe that she would not be able to defeat her opponent with her extraordinary eyes. Luo Qingtong looked at her and raised her eyebrows. Just as she was about to say something, a voice suddenly entered her ears. Luo Qingtong's expression instantly changed. "Not interested." She turned to leave after saying that. "Evil Dr. Ghost Eye." Seeing that she was about to leave, Feng Yuan instantly became anxious. "Are you scared? This time, I will definitely beat you. If you have the ability, then accept the challenge. Otherwise, even if you won the previous 2 rounds, I don't think you're better than me. That's your business." Luo Qingtong didn't even bother to look at her. "It doesn't matter if you're willing to admit that you're inferior to me. As for me being afraid of you..." Luo Qingtong leaped up. Wait till you can do what I just did to turn poison into medicine, then you can talk to me about this. As she spoke, her figure disappeared from the arena. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Feng Wuan's heart was filled with embarrassment. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Luo Qingtong's words were really a slap to her face. She wanted to provoke Luo Qingtong into competing with her in the third round, but Luo Qingtong didn't accept it at all. She directly used the result of the second round to slap her face. Unfortunately, Feng Wuan couldn't do anything about it. If she was able to do what Luo Qingtong did just now, why would she even think of using the third round to make a comeback? This evil Dr. Ghost Eye was really too hateful. She was obviously deliberately humiliating her like this. Feng Wuan's heart was filled with hatred to the extreme. The whispers around her and the mocking and disdainful gazes directed at her made her feel extremely embarrassed. Not only did she fail to slap the face, she was also slapped. This was her current situation. Feng Wuan came to the main city of the Black Field in high spirits, wanting to replace Luo Qingtong. Chapter 729. Let's go. She shouted with shame and anger on her face. Sooner or later, she would return all of this humiliation to evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Just you wait. The group of people fled the Blackfield main city in a sorry state like a pack of stray dogs. Luo Qingtong, after a few leaps, suddenly appeared at a corner of the wall behind the Blackfield main city's city lord mansion. Grandfather, where are you going? Looking at a certain sneaky figure lying on the wall, Luo Qingtong's face was full of helplessness. Ah! Qingtong! Ouch! Luo Leoi, who was lying on the wall and secretly preparing to climb over, suddenly heard Luo Qingtong's cry and was startled. Before he could turn around, he missed a step and fell down from the several meters high wall of the city lord mansion. Grandfather! Seeing this scene, Luo Qingtong flung her sleeve and hurriedly rushed over to catch Luo Leoi. This prevented him from falling flat on his face. Cough, cough, cough. Qingtong, you're back. Luo Leoi stood at the corner of the wall, his eyes darting left and right, unspeakably guilty. That's right. If I didn't come back, where were you going? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and asked him. She had already taken off the Rakshasa ghost mask on her face, and her long hair was also let down. She casually tied it into a bun on the side, looking playful and cute. In just a moment, Luo Qingtong changed from an androgynous, devilishly charming and peerless youth to an enchanting and beautiful young lady. She held her Rakshasa ghost mask, crossed her arms, and stood there looking at her grandfather with a pair of slanted eyebrows. Just now on the stage, she received a transmission from the Blackfield main city lord mansion, saying that Luo Leoi seemed to want to secretly leave the city lord mansion, so she hurriedly rushed back. No. No. Luo Leoi's gaze darted even more. I just want to. Yes, go out for a walk. I just want to go out for a walk. He slapped his thigh and said confidently. Grandpa just wants to go out for a walk. It's so boring. Do you have to make such a big fuss? You almost scared me to death. Is that so? Luo Qingtong looked at him with a smile that was not a smile. Climb the wall and go out for a walk. You even brought a package with you. As she spoke, she fixed her gaze on the bag that old Master Luo was carrying. Old Master Luo's face twitched as he looked at the evidence of him running away from home. Yes, I am leaving. Seeing that he couldn't hide it any longer, Grandfather Luo gritted his teeth and squatted on the ground. Qingtong, don't bother about Grandfather. This matter, you can't do anything about it. Old Master Luo's voice was muffled. Thinking of the news he had just heard about the Empress Dowager's groom selection in the city lord's mansion, his heart felt stifled. He knew that Luo Qingtong brought him to the Blackfield main city to help him. But he was no longer young, and he didn't have the strength. How could he match her? Even if Luo Qingtong could ask the Blackfield's power to help him, Grandfather Luo's heart wouldn't be able to get over his own hurdle. Not to mention, in short, don't bother about Grandfather. Qingtong, you've been running around too much for Grandfather's matters. You've even delayed the matters at the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. Go back quickly. Grandfather is fine. I'll go out for a walk. Don't think about your grandmother's matters, so there should be no problem. Grandfather Luo's expression was desolate. He really didn't want to implicate his granddaughter and make her busy for him. Chapter 730. Okay. Seeing him like this, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and agreed immediately. She took her Rakshasa mask, turned around and said, "Hey, I've already gotten the complete pill formula and medicinal ingredients for the pill you took before. I wanted to restore Grandpa's youth. And I've also thought of a way to increase your strength. I guarantee that you'll be able to amaze the world. But since you're not willing, then forget it. Grandpa, you can go." She patted her butt and prepared to leave. However, after taking 2 steps, Grandpa Luo jumped to his feet and pulled him back. "Qingtong. Are you telling the truth?" Master Luo looked at Luo Qingtong excitedly. "You're really." He stuttered for a long time. "Really?" Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded, her eyes full of smiles. "Grandpa, I've already found the missing ingredient. I'll be able to refine the pill for you soon. Then you'll be able to regain your youth. As for your strength, I have a way to increase it so that you'll be able to use the power of the sage state." Luo Qingtong looked at old Master Luo's shocked face with his mouth agape. She smiled and asked, "Grandpa, are you still going to give up?" "Give up my ass." Master Luo was about to be stunned by his precious granddaughter's words. She could restore his youth and let him use the power of the sage state. Oh my God! If it wasn't for his precious granddaughter who always kept her word, Master Luo wouldn't have believed it. But since it was his granddaughter who said it, Master Luo slapped his thigh. Go. Let's go back. Qingtong, how much time do you need to refine the pill? And what about increasing my strength? How do you do it? Can I make it in time for your grandmother's Empress Dowager's groom selection? He dragged Luo Qingtong back to the city lord's manor, his heart filled with indescribable excitement. He could become younger, and he could possess strength. Yan Shi, wait for me to marry you. I'll do everything I can to stand by your side. I'll make it in time. Grandpa, you should rest well and conserve your energy. Luo Qingtong looked at old Master Luo's excited face and smiled. Then, she said, when I help you increase your strength, the effect will be the best. All right. Luo Qingtong's words were more effective than anything else to Grandfather Luo. Hearing this, he immediately went back to his room. He swore that if his granddaughter didn't call him, he wouldn't come out and jump around. After sending old Master Luo away, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold and the smile on her face faded. What's going on? She looked to the side and asked, did something happen to Empress Dowager Yan Shi of Great Chu? Otherwise, his grandfather would not have been so disheartened and wanted to sneak away. Sir, there's news from the Great Yong's sacred dynasty. After hearing that Empress Dowager Yan Shi of Great Chu is looking for a husband, the 7th Prince of Great Yong has publicly expressed his love for her and is willing to give up all the honor and power in the Great Yong's sacred dynasty to go to the Great Chu's sacred dynasty to ask for Empress Dowager Yan Shi's hand in marriage. At the place where Luo Qingtong was looking at, a figure of a strong man from the Black region appeared. Grandpa must have heard this news, so he left. Great Yong's sacred dynasty. Chapter 731. Her index finger tapped on the Rakshasa ghost mask in her hand. This was interesting. She had just found out that Princess Feng Yuan of the Great Yong dynasty was the one who had plotted against the original owner of this body. Now, the seventh prince of the Great Yong dynasty was coming to steal her grandmother. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Give me the information on the seventh prince of the Great Yong dynasty. Also, see who else accompanied him to the Great Chu sacred dynasty. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She wanted to see if Princess Feng Yuan of the Great Yong dynasty would come or not. If she came, she wanted to meet the first princess of the Great Yong dynasty, the first genius. Yes. Hearing this, the expert of the Black Field disappeared in front of Luo Qingtong. At the same time, Feng Yuan returned to the residence in the city where she had been hiding. Looking at the white robe and mask she had taken off, she could no longer hold back the violent anger in her heart. With a bang, she raised her hand and swept the pile of things, including everything on her table, to the ground. Crackle. There was a crisp sound of shattering. The group of maidservants and guards who followed Feng Yuan did not even dare to make a sound. They all lay motionless on the ground, waiting for Feng Yuan's anger to pass. Rumble. Feng Yuan raised her hand and directly flipped the square table in front of her to the ground. The table fiercely smashed into a maidservant who was kneeling on the ground. The latter let out a muffled groan, forcibly withstanding the violent force, not daring to cry out in pain even a little bit. Feng Yuan's eyes were red. Standing in the midst of the mess, she looked like an evil spirit who had crawled out of hell. She panted, thinking of the humiliation she had suffered in the main city of the Black Field today. She clenched her fists so tightly that she almost broke her finger bones. At this moment, she seemed to feel something and raised her hand to let everyone in the room leave. Master. After everyone left, Feng Yuan respectfully bowed his head and called out. A wisp of green smoke suddenly appeared in front of her. That wisp of green smoke suddenly transformed into a faintly discernible human silhouette in midair. Yes. The green smoke replied in a low voice, then said, Where's my square immortal cauldron? Take it out, Master has found a way to open the first layer. Perhaps it will allow you to break through the limits of an alchemist earlier and become an alchemist. Before he could finish, Feng Yuan's expression suddenly changed. Square immortal cauldron. Master, I. Feng Yuan clenched his teeth, unable to speak. His heart was filled with extreme regret. If she had known that her master had a way to open the four-sided immortal furnace and help her become an alchemist, she definitely wouldn't have used the four-sided immortal furnace as a stake. But now, the square immortal cauldron had fallen into the hands of the evil doctor, Ghost Eye. Feng Yuan's fingernails dug deep into his flesh when he thought about how he had not only lost a person but also a treasure. What's wrong with you? Where's the four-sided immortal furnace? The wisp of green smoke also felt that something was wrong with her mood. Immediately, the smoke rolled and shouted sternly. Before Feng Yuan could finish speaking, the wisp of smoke had already searched her entire body, but it did not find any trace of the four-sided immortal furnace. Then, the smoke transformed into a large palm and slapped her hard, causing her to fall to the ground. Bastard! Chapter 732. Do you know what kind of treasure that square immortal furnace is? When I gave it to you, I told you to take good care of it and not make any mistakes. The treasure within that square immortal furnace is extremely precious. I went through innumerable hardships to obtain it, and my soul almost scattered. Otherwise, how could I have fallen to such a low-level continent? How could you lose it? You deserve to die. As that wisp of blue smoke spoke, it instantly slapped towards her. That aura was wild and furious, not holding back at all. If Feng Yuan were to be struck by this slap, even if she didn't die she would be severely wounded. It could be seen just how furious the other party was. Master! Seeing this slap, Feng Yuan's heart chilled. She quickly shouted out, I didn't lose that square immortal furnace. It was stolen by someone else. She clenched her teeth, twisting the truth and saying, "The other party is an alchemist in the black field that no one dares to approach. I am not her match." She saw the square immortal furnace and forcefully stole it away. "Master, give me some time. I will definitely take that square immortal furnace back." As Feng Yuan spoke to her, she fiercely clenched her teeth. Losing to Luo Qingtong this time was the greatest shame of her life. Not only had she been humiliated and crushed in front of everyone, but she had also lost her treasure. She thought about how she had always wanted to break through to become an alchemist, but the square immortal furnace could actually help her become one. She felt a burst of regret in her heart. Black field, alchemist. Hearing Feng Yuan's words, that wisp of blue smoke instantly stopped. She's actually someone from the black field. As that wisp of blue smoke spoke of the black field, there was a deep dread in her voice. Feng Yuan lowered her head, her eyes dark and gloomy. Just like this wisp of blue smoke disdained everything in the true Spill continent. However, towards the black field, dark supremacy, she was extremely afraid of the black field. With such fear, how could Feng Yuan not have suspicions? The strength of Ming Zun in the black field was definitely beyond her imagination. That was why Feng Yuan was so obsessed with Yi Qianxian. Otherwise, with her arrogance, why would she be so persistent with a man who spoke so bluntly to her and didn't even want to meet her? Yes. Master, the other party is highly valued by the Black Field's underworld supremacy. He has a revered status in the Black Field. I was truly powerless and was unable to protect the square immortal cauldron. Please forgive me, Master. Humph. Since he's from the Black Field, then forget it. The wisp of green smoke snorted coldly when he heard this. Then, he said, "Fortunately, the things inside the divine cauldron are not things that ordinary people can obtain. Even if they fall into the other party's hands, it won't be a big deal. But you still have to get that divine cauldron back as soon as possible. Don't disappoint me again." "Yes. Master, please rest assured." Feng Yuan lowered his eyes and said. Seeing the wisp of green smoke disappear in front of him, Feng Yuan slowly stood up with his hand on his chest. He raised his hand to wipe off the bloodstains on the side of his lips. His eyes were filled with a sinister light. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. How long until 7th Imperial Uncle and the others arrive? She transmitted her voice to the person outside the door. The 7th Imperial Uncle and the others have already traveled day and night. They should arrive at the Great Chu's sacred capital within 3 to 5 days. The guard outside the door said respectfully. Very good. Let them move faster. She must have the Great Chu's sacred dynasty in her hands. When the two dynasties merged, she would have the opportunity and bargaining chips to settle the score with evil Dr. Gui Tong. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, don't think that just because you have the Black Field's underworld supremacy protecting you, I can't do anything to you. That square immortal cauldron, I must get it back. The things you took from me and the humiliation you gave me, I will definitely return them all. Chapter 733. While Feng Yuan was inwardly cursing in his heart, Luo Qingtong had already brought Little Pig to the depths of the mountains outside the Black Field main city. This place should be about done. Luo Qingtong looked around. She had come out to concoct pills. According to the records she had read before, this youthful rejuvenation pill was already considered an immortal pill. Luo Qingtong didn't know what grade of pill it was in this strange world. Thinking of the tribulation lightning she had attracted when she first started concocting pills, Luo Qingtong felt that it was necessary for her to find a secluded place to concoct pills. As for the Black Field main city's City Lord Mansion, although it was safe, it was too big of a target. Moreover, people die for wealth, and birds die for food. Although the Black Field's deterrence was great, it couldn't withstand the temptation of greed. If someone really wanted to take the risk, the Blackfield main city lord mansion wouldn't be safe. After all, who knew how many hidden experts there were in the Blackfield main city? Luo Qingtong had found the heavenly watered jade heart lotus for her grandfather, so she naturally wouldn't allow any mistakes to occur during this concoction. Therefore, after some consideration, she came to the mountain range outside the Blackfield main city. The mountains here were stacked on top of each other. Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered with blood-red light. Soon, she found a suitable place for concocting pills. Luo Qingtong set up a formation in the surroundings. Then, she raised her hand and took out the square immortal cauldron. Whoosh! The square immortal cauldron shrank in Luo Qingtong's palm. It was only the size of a palm. However, when it was placed on the ground, it instantly grew with the wind. With a whoosh, it became dozens of meters tall. The ancient and boundless aura around it spread out in all directions as it grew. What's the origin of this immortal cauldron? Luo Qingtong looked at Little Pig and asked. This fellow had been asking her to take down the divine cauldron ever since the cauldron appeared. He seemed to be very familiar with it. You don't know this, but legend has it that this divine cauldron is a treasure left behind by a divine king. The treasure left behind by that divine king is inside, Little Pig said mysteriously. And that's not the most important thing. Most importantly, it was said that this treasure contained clues related to the God King's inheritance and treasure trove. But after so many years, no one has found it. So you know how precious this divine cauldron is. That heavenly doctor definitely doesn't know how precious this divine cauldron is. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't compare this divine cauldron with you. Little Pig chuckled mischievously as he spoke. Everyone has gone crazy searching for this thing outside. I never thought that it would appear in the true Spill continent. You're lucky to have met someone who doesn't know what's good for you. If that heavenly doctor knew that this divine cauldron was such a treasure, yet she gave it to you herself, I wonder how much blood she would vomit. Who told her to be so arrogant? Now she was a fool, wasn't she? Little Pig was amused as he thought about this. He had been angry at that heavenly doctor's provocation. But now, he wished that there would be more fools like her. Who would complain about having too many treasures? Divine King's treasure. Luo Qingtong looked at the square immortal cauldron, her eyes flashing. Her eyes instantly turned as red as blood. Eye technique activated. In this blood red, Luo Qingtong saw that there were 3 layers underneath the square immortal cauldron. Chapter 734. However, those things and the interlayers were filled with a dense energy. Luo Qingtong couldn't see it clearly at all. She had only activated her eye technique for a while before she felt a piercing pain in her head. The light in her eyes dimmed in an instant. There are indeed things inside, but I'm not strong enough to take them out for the time being. Let's wait until later. Luo Qingtong said as she deactivated her eye technique. After a while, her eyes returned to normal. We're not in a hurry anyway. The divine cauldron is already in our hands. When your strength increases in the future, we can take those things out. Little Pig said, even if we take them out now, you might not be able to use them. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. Let's refine pills first. As she spoke, she raised her hand and set up one array formation after another around her. Following her movements, one array formation after another took shape. First layer array, second layer array, third layer array. Sixth layer array. Luo Qingtong set up the strongest array she could and let Little Pig stand guard at the side. Then, she began to refine pills. With this square immortal cauldron, Luo Qingtong no longer had to worry about the cauldron exploding. She only had to pay attention to the changes in the medicinal power. Because she only had one stalk of heavenly watered jade heart lotus, Luo Qingtong was very careful when refining pills. Swoosh! She activated the eye technique in her eyes and stared at the huge cauldron at all times. Following the changes in the medicinal power of each ball, her hands' movements constantly changed. Stalk after stalk of medicinal herbs were purified into medicinal liquid by her and thrown into the square immortal cauldron to undergo a second fusion. Streams of rich heaven and earth energy were absorbed into the square immortal cauldron. As the time for Luo Qingtong's elixir refinement progressed, dark clouds started to gather in the sky. Those dark clouds shrouded the valley she was in layer by layer. The dark clouds pressed down on the city, threatening to destroy it. A storm was coming. As for the other places, it was cloudless. What's going on? Near the mountain range, many people looked at this scene in amazement. At this moment, on a mountainside not far from the canyon where Luo Qingtong was refining pills, a handsome youth bathed in blood suddenly emerged from behind a huge rock. The man's face was gorgeous, and he had both the feminine charm of a woman and the masculine aura of a man. He had a pair of sword-like eyebrows that were slanted upwards. They were obviously extremely robust, but the corners of his eyes were filled with a beautiful color. There was a mole under the corner of her eye, which made her even more charming. What's that? His blood-stained fingers were propped up on the boulder. His aura fluctuated between strong and weak. His breathing was sometimes heavy and sometimes weak. Anyone could see that he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. The birth of a treasure. Or something else. Looking at the scene of the black clouds pressing down on the city, the light in Yu Si Wang's eyes kept changing. In the next second, he suddenly gritted his teeth and rushed toward the area covered by the black clouds. No matter what it was very likely to be his only chance of survival in his current situation. Rumble. As Luo Qingtong continued to add medicinal power into the cauldron, the heaven and earth energy contained in the square immortal cauldron was already extremely large. As for the black clouds in the sky, they were hanging lower and lower. Chapter 735. Holy *T. Where did this woman find this pill recipe? This tribulation cloud is so scary. Little Pig stared dumbfoundedly at the incomparably thick black clouds in the sky that were about to press down on their heads. Even when Luo Qingtong refined the spirit awakening pill for the first time, such a terrifying tribulation cloud didn't appear. At that time, the tribulation cloud only appeared after her pill had taken shape. Now, the pill hadn't even taken shape, but it was already gathering. He didn't know if that woman would be able to withstand it. However, with the life and death yin-yang sword, she should be fine, right? It's best if she's fine. Little Pig hadn't recovered his strength from the last time he revealed himself. If something happened to Luo Qingtong now, it would be troublesome. If he forced himself to reveal himself, he might suck her dry and severely damage her foundation. While Little Pig was thinking, Luo Qingtong raised her hand and threw the last drop of heavenly jade heart lotus medicinal liquid into the cauldron. Because she didn't need to worry about the cauldron exploding, Luo Qingtong refined all the medicinal ingredients she used this time. This way, a successful pill would have a higher retention rate of medicinal efficacy and better effects. Luo Qingtong naturally used all her strength to refine the pill for Luo Qingtong's grandfather. Swoosh! She threw the last drop of medicinal liquid in her hand forward. With a boom, the entire square immortal cauldron trembled slightly. In the next second, a five-colored aura suddenly spread out from the cauldron. Then, more and more five-colored aura suddenly rushed out and condensed above the cauldron. At the same time, the heaven and earth energy in the cauldron suddenly contracted. Under the effect of some mysterious heaven and earth law, it changed the medicinal properties of the balls of medicinal efficacy and fused them together to form an even more powerful medicinal effect. Immortal Qi. Oh my God! Little Pig was completely dumbfounded as he looked at the five-colored light above the cauldron. He knew Luo Qingtong's pill was definitely not ordinary. But immortal qi, it was too terrifying. This woman really didn't play her cards according to the rules. Who could refine an immortal pill at her level? Even if she was using a divine cauldron, it would be the same. At most, it would have a higher retention rate, a stronger effect, and a higher success rate. But this immortal pill, the fusion of medicinal properties, was extremely complex and terrifying. How did Luo Qingtong do it? Little Pig had always thought that as Luo Qingtong's cultivation increased, her frightening ability would weaken. She wouldn't be able to scare him so much that his little heart would beat wildly again. But looking at it now, it was nothing. This woman was always so perverted and terrifying. Fortunately, her strength was still weak. Otherwise, wouldn't she be swept away in minutes? It had never seen such a perverted and terrifying woman. His talent was as if he was born for cultivation. Luo Qingtong had no time to pay attention to Little Pig. The amount of heaven and earth energy gathered in the four-sided immortal cauldron had reached a terrifying level. If this was not a four-sided immortal cauldron, it would have exploded again. Luo Qingtong focused all her attention on the four-sided immortal cauldron. She paid close attention to the fusion of medicinal efficacy and the situation of the heaven and earth energy pouring into it. At this time, she couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Otherwise, this huge ball of medicinal efficacy would be wasted. Rumble. The clouds in the sky were getting lower and lower. The rumbling sound inside was getting louder and clearer. Chapter 736. This is. Yu Si Huang was shocked as he looked at the girl sitting cross-legged on the opposite side of the mountain wall. In front of her was a huge cauldron that was constantly emitting multicolored aura. Immortal aura. This young girl, she's concocting pills. The dark clouds in the sky were caused by her refining the immortal spiritual pills. Yu Si Huang was shocked. The girl seemed to be only 15 or 16 years old. Her face was like a peach blossom, and her beauty could topple cities. Her red dress was extremely enchanting. Sitting cross-legged and surrounded by the immortal aura emitted by the cauldron, she was like a goddess that descended from the 9 heavens. Even though Yu Si Huang had seen all kinds of enchanting and charming women, he was still shocked by Luo Qingtong's beauty. Humph. The moment Yu Si Huang broke in, Luo Qingtong immediately sensed him. She didn't expect him to be able to ignore the array she set up and directly break in. Luo Qingtong could not find the time to do so and immediately shouted. Little Pig also reacted when he heard Luo Qingtong shout. He rushed toward Yu Si Huang, who broke in. He didn't know how this person avoided Luo Qingtong's array and broke in, but Luo Qingtong was at the crucial moment of refining pills. She absolutely couldn't be disturbed. Especially when this pill was refined by Luo Qingtong for Luo Qingtong's grandfather to consume. Little Pig didn't dare to imagine the consequences if she was disturbed and failed at the last step. Luo Qingtong didn't flip out easily, but once she did, it was indescribably terrifying. Bang! Little Pig's forehooves stomped on the ground. His pink body instantly turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed toward Yu Si Huang. Wait! Seeing Little Pig rushing over, Yu Si Huang was startled and wanted to say something. Just at this moment, there was a boom. The array that Luo Qingtong had set up in the canyon was triggered. There's an array here. He's inside. Blast this formation open. Voices could be heard from outside. Luo Qingtong's brows furrowed slightly as her gaze swept past the area enveloped by the formation. Immediately, she saw numerous figures surrounding the canyon. Those people were obviously together. Each and every one of them had an extremely powerful aura. Each and every one of them was above the martial emperor level. Were these people chasing after this man? Luo Qingtong's eyes swept over the blood stains on Yu Si Wang's body. Right at this moment, get out of my way. A voice suddenly came from outside. In the next second. Boom! A majestic sound rang out, and in an instant, the entire valley shook. Saint Realm Expert. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed as she felt the boundless aura. Her gaze coldly swept over Yu Si Wang's direction, then her gaze fixed on the entrance of the canyon. There, a hole had been torn in the array she had set up. A group of people barged in. Ha! Yu Si Wang, you can't run away, right? The group of people's voices were extremely arrogant, especially the mustached man at the front. He had a complacent expression on his face. His long and narrow eyes were like a snake as he stared at the gorgeous young man bathed in blood. Chapter 737. Immortal Pill. Seeing the cauldron in front of Luo Qingtong emitting a colorful aura, the mustached man was surprised at first, but then he was overjoyed. Ha! I didn't expect to meet a genius alchemist here, and she's even refining an immortal pill. The mustached man's face was full of greed. Immortal pill. This was a legendary medicinal pill. In the entire True Spill continent, there weren't many alchemy grandmasters that could refine such a pill. At least, he had never heard of such a thing. Who would have thought that chasing after Yu Si Wang to this dark cloud-covered place would actually be able to bump into such a genius alchemist? This young girl was obviously a natural alchemist. At such a young age, she was actually able to refine such a pill. Moreover, she was able to refine such an immortal pill. He was afraid that even evil Dr. Ghost Eye, who was highly sought after in the Black Field, didn't have such strength. He didn't expect to run into her. Yu Si Wang, I didn't expect that before you died, you would bring me such a great opportunity. Ha! This alchemist, along with the immortal pill she refined, I want it all. The mustached man waved his hand and barked out coldly, you guys are in charge of killing him. Today, the future overlord of the 3 islands and 7 lands will fall here. As he spoke, he laughed and rushed towards Luo Qingtong. Little beauty. He looked at the fairy-like young girl sitting in front of the cauldron, his face filled with unspeakable pride and lust. From now on, you'll follow me. I want the pill, and I also want the person. Luo Qingtong looked at the mustached man's figure rushing towards her, a bloody light flashing in her eyes. It had been a long time since someone dared to say such death-seeking words in front of her. The last person who dared to look at her with such eyes, their bones had already turned to ashes, right? Luo Qingtong coldly looked at the mustached man's sage realm fluctuations, then suddenly sent a sound transmission to Yu Si Wang, with your injuries, how many breaths of time can you last? Luo Qingtong's voice was faint, without a trace of anxiety or panic. It was as if the man with the handlebar mustache wasn't targeting her, and as if what she was facing wasn't a crisis at all. However, Yu Si Wang knew that with the young girl's current age and talent, if she was captured by the people in front of him, she would definitely be imprisoned until she died. She would be reduced to a forbidden puppet, living a fate worse than death. 100 breaths. Yu Si Wang calculated for a moment, with his current weakened heart meridians, and his heavily injured appearance, he could at most stop the other party for 100 breaths. However, if you give me the immortal pills in your cauldron, I can kill them all. Yu Si Wang gently caressed the mole at the corner of his eye, his eyes were shining as he looked at Luo Qingtong's direction. His enchanting face was filled with a domineering aura. I don't need a single breath. As long as he could cure the old illness in his heart meridian, killing these people would not take more than a breath. Yu Si Wang's lips carried a smile, enchanting and charming. But his eyes were filled with ruthlessness. If he didn't have an old illness, how could he be taken advantage of by a group of jumping clowns, and forced into a desperate situation? As long as he could recover, these people would all die. including those who betrayed him. The pills I refined are useless for the injury in your heart meridian, you don't have to think about it. Seeing through Yu Si Wang's thoughts, Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. Chapter 738. Good. Yu Si Wang's eyes were burning. He wouldn't believe Luo Qingtong's words if it was any other time. After all, how could a girl who was only a martial king save him from a group of martial spirit realm and a sage realm expert? Not to mention him, even she herself would find it hard to save herself. But at this moment, Yu Si Wang wanted to believe the girl in front of him. So what if she was lying to him? Anyway, he was already a person who was about to die. If he could prevent these people from getting what they wanted before he died, he would lose a genius alchemist and an immortal great elixir. Why not? As Yu Si Wang thought of this, the smile on his face became even more devilish. But the light in his eyes became even colder. Boom! He raised his hand and pointed at a certain point in his heart. In an instant, his aura exploded again. His aura, which was originally so weak that it was flickering between light and darkness, completely exploded at this moment. In the next second, his figure was like a butterfly's wings. His sleeves fluttered as he rushed toward the mustached man who was rushing toward Luo Qingtong. Your opponent is me. As he spoke, Yu Si Wang's figure had already blocked in front of the mustached man. Boom! His purple robe was soaked in blood, which made him look devilish. With a swoosh, he opened his sleeves and his aura was like a wave. In an instant, he blocked the mustached man's path. Humph! Yu Si Wang, you're already an arrow at the end of its flight. How long can you last by forcefully increasing your strength with a forbidden technique? After 100 breaths, you'll die a more miserable death. Being blocked by him, the man with the handlebar mustache was furious. He raised his hand and attacked him. Rumble. In the sky, one after another, violent and terrifying auras exploded. The two auras collided, and there was a momentum that surpassed the thunder and lightning in the sky. Under such circumstances, Little Pig's figure also jumped up and rushed toward the martial spirit realm experts who were rushing toward Yu Si Wang. Little Pig's body was small, but its speed was as fast as lightning. Together with Yu Si Wang's attack, it forcefully stalled the opponent. Rumble. Explosions rang out one after another in the sky. Luo Qingtong was completely focused on the square immortal cauldron in front of her. The medicinal power inside was boundless and had already reached its peak. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, dozens of breaths. Boom! Boom! One after another, the power of heaven and earth poured down. The fusion of the medicinal powers inside was also becoming more and more intense. In the next second, boom! After an incomparably loud explosion, the entire four-sided immortal cauldron shook. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, clouds began to move in all directions. Streaks of 5-colored chi gathered above the square immortal cauldron's cauldron. Above it, a giant auspicious immortal beast was formed. Elixir chi into spirit. The immortal pill was formed. At the same time, rumble. The black clouds that had almost reached the ground were rolling violently. Inside, bolts of lightning that were thicker than an adult's thigh were brewing. Immortal pills. Seeing the immortal beast emerge from the four-sided immortal cauldron, the mustached man revealed a greedy and pleasantly surprised smile. I didn't expect her to actually succeed in refining it. Ha! This immortal pill is mine. As he spoke, the aura around his body exploded. In the next second, bang! Yu Si Wang, who was originally relying on the last bit of his aura and strength to forcefully gather his strength, could no longer hold on and spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 739. Bang! His figure smashed heavily onto the ground. At the same time, the man with the handlebar mustache had already rushed into Luo Qingtong. Ha! Immortal elixir. Looking at the five-colored aura that was continuously emitted from the cauldron, the man with the handlebar mustache was extremely pleased. Hurry up and leave. Yu Si Huang gritted his teeth and spat out blood as he shouted coldly. His beautiful and enchanting face, which was as pretty as a woman's, was filled with anxiety. The girl's strength was only at the martial king realm and was not a match for the sage realm. Her talent was outstanding and her strength was not obvious. Once she was caught by the other party, she would definitely have a miserable ending. Yu Si Huang was not a person who had tender feelings for the fairer sex, but for some reason, looking at the girl in front of him, he did not want her to become someone else's exclusive property. Or rather, such a charming girl should not be reduced to someone else's exclusive property. Hurry up and leave. He struggled to get up from the ground, but just as he got up halfway, he fell back down with a loud bang. The injuries on his body were too severe. Just now, he had forcefully stimulated his acupoints and used a forbidden technique. The fact that he was not dead now was already proof of his strength. Boom! Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes as she watched the man with the handlebar mustache rush towards her. The sage realm aura rippling from the other party's body was shocking. If it was any other time, she might have avoided the sharp edge. But now, Luo Qingtong raised her head to look at the huge dragon snake lightning dancing in the sky. The moment the man with the handlebar mustache rushed over, she opened the lid of the square immortal cauldron. Rumble. The dense immortal spiritual energy that was originally bound in the square immortal cauldron instantly surged out. In the sky, the Pil Dao tribulation lightning that had sensed the aura of the immortal elixir but could not pinpoint its exact location suddenly descended. Those violent lightning bolts that were thicker than an adult's arm danced wildly, boom boom boom. Pil Dao tribulation lightning. Looking at the thick lightning bolts that were like dragons and snakes in the sky, and feeling the violent power of the laws of heaven and earth that was dispersing from them, the man with the handlebar mustache's expression changed drastically. What was going on? When he had rushed over, he hadn't felt the tribulation lightning. He had thought that the immortal elixir refined by the young girl had no tribulation lightning for some reason. Why did he suddenly fall down? However, even as he watched the tribulation lightning descend, the mustached man did not retreat at all. Immortal spiritual pills were hard to come by, and this young girl who could refine them was even harder to come by. He had said that if he wanted the pill, he also wanted the person. He could still withstand 2 strikes of this tribulation lightning. He absolutely could not let the person and the medicinal pill escape. With that in mind, he didn't retreat. Instead, he sped up and rushed towards Luo Qingtong. Little beauty, come with me. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a lewd smile. While grabbing the elixir with one hand, he also grabbed Luo Qingtong with the other hand. Sure. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light as she watched his perverted hand coming for her. In the next second, she slowly broke into a smile. That smile on her lips was peerless, enchanting, and absolutely moving. I'll go with you. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was beautiful. She raised her eyebrows at the mustached man. Then, with a flip of her lily-white hand, the youthful rejuvenation elixir was grasped in her hand. Chapter 740. What? The man with the handlebar mustache grabbed nothing but air, and before he could recover from his shock, the man with the handlebar mustache grabbed the air. Instantly, a black and white long blade appeared in Luo Qingtong's hand as she flew towards the Pil Dao tribulation lightning. The life and death sword. Rumble. As the life and death sword appeared, the terrifying bolts of lightning were instantly absorbed by the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand. Buzz. The divine runes on the life and death sword in Luo Qingtong's hand lit up. In an instant, terrifying power circulated on the sword. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She looked down at the shocked man with the handlebar mustache below. She raised the life and death sword in her hand and waved it. The first move of the heaven-conquering art, seizing heaven's fortune. Boom! As Luo Qingtong launched this attack. In an instant, the sky changed color and the wind and clouds surged. The black clouds in the sky surged violently. In the next second, a sword light cut through the sky like the breaking of dawn or the waves of the sea. From the edge of the horizon, a world-shocking strike came from afar. Rumble. The entire sky was almost split into two halves by this sword. The black clouds in the sky were suddenly split apart. Above the sky, traces of the blue sky and the white sun appeared. The sun shone down from the thick clouds. That ray of sword light seemed to have brushed against the sunlight as it heavily cleaved onto the mustached man's body. Its momentum was vast and its form was turbulent. It was as vast as the sun, breaking through the sky. This was the heaven-conquering art. Ah! The sword light from the life and death sword, which had absorbed the power of the heavenly Tao Pill Thunder, was even more powerful than the sword light that Luo Qingtong had produced when she had absorbed Yi Qianqian's power. The man with the handlebar mustache did not expect that a girl in the martial king realm, who was like an ant to him, would launch such a powerful and terrifying attack. In just an instant, his body was sliced into two by the sword light. Half of his face was still filled with surprise, while the other half was filled with horror. These two emotions were intertwined on his face. In the next second, his body fell heavily to the ground, and there was no more sound coming from him. The experts in the martial spirit realm that he had brought with him had been chopped into ashes by this sword light. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Her blood-red eyes flickered as she floated to the ground. At this moment. Be careful. Yu Huang's voice suddenly sounded. He's a soul cultivator who cultivates the power of Yin's soul. As he spoke, an illusory figure suddenly appeared on the corpse of the man with a mustache. Instantly, it charged towards Luo Qingtong with a ferocious expression. Bitch! You destroyed my body. Chapter 741. A dignified sage realm expert was killed by a martial king realm expert. No one would believe it if they heard about it. However, it just so happened. If he knew this slut had such a method, he would have killed this slut the moment he barged in without caring about Yu Huang, who was about to die. The mustached man thought resentfully as he rushed toward Luo Qingtong with a shriek. Although he didn't have the strength of a sage realm expert, his Yin soul energy wasn't any weaker than before. Other than the fact that he couldn't use the energy of heaven and earth, his strength was the same as before. The Pill Dao tribulation lightning that Luo Qingtong borrowed had already dissipated. At this moment, the dark clouds in the sky had already dispersed. Currently, her cultivation was only at the martial emperor realm. F***CK. This bastard is actually an expert who specializes in Yin soul energy. This is going to be troublesome. The moment Luo Qingtong succeeded in refining the pill, Little Pig quickly hid to the side to watch the show. He knew Luo Qingtong's temperament. She always kept her word. She said she wanted to save that man, which meant she had a way to deal with these people. However, he didn't expect Luo Qingtong to be so powerful. She actually thought of using the Pill Dao tribulation lightning to deal with that sage realm expert. Luo Qingtong dared to use the life and death dual polarity sword that was engraved with God's runes. Otherwise, she would have been struck to death by the Pill Dao tribulation lightning. However, the effect was pretty good. It was just that the mustached man actually cultivated Yin soul force on top of that, which really caught him off guard. Little Pig's heart was burning with anxiety, and he instantly rushed towards Luo Qingtong's side. No, even if I have to force myself to appear, I can't let anything happen to Luo Qingtong. As he ran toward Luo Qingtong, his body emitted a burst of light. An inverted pentagram pattern appeared on his little pink butt. Just as the pentagram pattern was about to appear on Luo Qingtong's forehead, there was a boom. A snow-white long tail suddenly emerged from the void around Luo Qingtong and coiled around the mustached man's soul that was rushing toward Luo Qingtong. Boom! Before the man with the handlebar mustache could react, his body was instantly bound to the spot. I forgot about that little white ball. Little Pig looked at this scene and suddenly used his little hoof to slap his head. What snowball? Golden flowing fire fox. Soul-devouring beast. It was currently in the midst of a metamorphosis, and would not reject anything that possessed soul power, especially soul bodies that contained powerful soul power. No matter how powerful that mustached man's soul, it was still a soul. Wasn't a snowball to eat to die. Snowball, snowball, snowballs, snowballs, little, snowball, The mustached man's soul was shocked. He felt that his body was no longer under his control. That long milky white tail firmly bound him. Even though it wasn't very strong, he couldn't break free. I've met my nemesis. The mustached man's face instantly turned ashen. He never imagined that Luo Qingtong would use the power of the Pill Dao heavenly lightning to kill him while he was still alive. Even after he died, he still couldn't escape the fate of death. Feeling the devouring power emitted by the long tail and the trembling feeling as if he had met his natural enemy, the mustached man's face was filled with despair. He was a dignified sage realm expert. How could he die in such a sullen manner? He couldn't even keep his soul. Chapter 742. Swish. With a fierce tug of that long tail, that mustached man's soul instantly disappeared on the spot, sucked into the void. His soul had been destroyed. His soul had truly been destroyed. Ah! That mustached man's voice was mournful. I won't let you off. Slut, I've already sent your image back to the sect through a soul technique. Just wait for our blood moon sect's revenge. We'll definitely make you suffer a horrible death. Ah! His miserable shriek disappeared on the spot, and soon, not a single sound was heard. Through the connection in her mind, Luo Qingtong could clearly see that the mustached man's soul was directly dragged into the 9-layer exquisite pagoda by the sleeping snowball. With a smack, it was eaten clean. And after absorbing his soul power, Snowball quietly grew a little. Very clearly, that mustached man's soul had completely turned into fertilizer for Snowball's growth. Blood Moon Sect. Withdrawing her consciousness from the 9-layer exquisite pagoda, Luo Qingtong slightly raised her eyebrows. In her mind, she didn't have any knowledge about this sect. The other party shouldn't be from the 4 great sacred dynasties. Then, could they be from another region? Luo Qingtong pondered in her heart. At this moment, Yu Sihuang, who was lying on the ground, suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood. In an instant, the wounds all over his body burst open, and blood flowed out. But after 100 breaths of time, the forbidden technique in his body backfired, and his previous injuries exploded. At this moment, he was on the verge of death. Bang! His body fell to the ground, and in an instant, he lost consciousness. He's still breathing. Luo Qingtong swept over, probing his aura, and raised her hand to feed him a bottle of medicinal liquid. Then, after thinking for a moment, she narrowed her eyes, and with a flicker of blood-red light, she saw through his heart veins. Yu Sihuang's heart veins had old injuries. She didn't know when he got injured, but at this moment, the 2 heart veins were completely glued together. With such injuries, it was no wonder that he was unable to display his full strength. Luo Qingtong thought of the scene where he was seriously injured but still stopped the mustached man and the group of martial spirit realm experts. She immediately raised her eyebrows. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. The mustache man probably thought that this man was dead for sure, so he dared to shout for revenge before he died. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Revenge? Alright, she would give him a chance to take revenge. But it was not for them, it was for this man. If this man was fine, would the Blood Moon sect still have the time to find trouble with her? Luo Qingtong raised her hand and fed Yu Siwang a bottle of life-saving medicine. He waited until all the wounds on his body had healed and his aura had stabilized. She immediately took out a dagger and slit open his chest. She began to treat the injury on his heart meridian. Luo Qingtong began to peel off Yu Siwang's 2 arteries. This man usually drank a lot of medicinal liquid, but this kind of injury had to be removed directly. No amount of medicinal liquid would be of any use. But how many people dared to perform this kind of surgery? Not to mention, it involved the heart meridian. The slightest carelessness would cause the heart meridian to break, and it would be a death sentence. Alright, let's go. After spending almost 2 hours, Luo Qingtong finally peeled off Yu Siwang's 2 arteries. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.